Puffs, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a video and literally getting out the same day because I'm really excited and think it's a good rainy weekend to do some colouring. So I've spent hours and hours on it. I've really enjoyed getting back into it. Last year I did do one, but it was focusing on my chameleon pens, which are less accessible. So I thought this time we would focus on doing a video where I show you 3 different types of colouring pencils and hopefully how to get good results with any type. So all you're going to need for this video, preferably to stay on brand, a Harry Potter colouring book. Both of these can be bought on Amazon. This one for about, I think, £8 and this one for maybe £20, maybe a bit less. You will also need, and this is important, a cup of tea, preferably in a Harry Potter mug. A sheet of paper, and I've chosen 3 brands of colouring pencils. So the first pencils that I'm going to be testing are these ones, which cost £1.75 in Wilkinson's. Second pack of pencils are some that I am aware of and did use a lot as a child. They are £3.25. I'm not going to tip this up too much because all my pencils will fall out. They don't all fit in this colour wrap. I have my Prismacolors. Now the idea of this video is not to make out that my Prismacolors are the best. That's not the idea. It's about getting amazing results with any type of colouring pencil. So I'm going to be putting in maximum effort with all of the different brands just to see what kind of different results I can get. Before we properly get into this video, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notifications bell. I do weekly Harry Potter or lifestyle videos. They're always positive, happy and funny, so hopefully you will find something on this channel that you enjoy. Now I think it's time that we start colouring. So here we have the pencils. These are the £1.75, the cheaper ones that I have. And to get set up, what you'll need to do is have the pencils laid out in front of you. The piece of paper that I was talking about earlier, as you can see, it's covered in colour, and that's because the page after the one you're colouring on will print. So if you haven't coloured the picture, you'll just get outlines printed on the white side. And if you have coloured the picture, then it will print from one side of the page to the other. So here we are going to start with the blue. We don't have a lot of choices here, and that is the issue when you buy a smaller colouring set. I have 30 colours and I may not have the exact shade of Fleur Delacour's outfit, but I'm going to have to do my best with what I've got. So we're going to start off with the hat. I'm hoping that this shade is what we would like. I've got a piece of paper underneath, and from what I can see on this picture is the light is hitting the top of Fleur's hat and the dark area is around the brim. We've got a lot of darkness here and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. Little bit of a dark patch here where the cap has a little point, and then it's completely white through here and on here. So it's a good example of some place to start, and I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to press quite hard along the edge. Now bear with me, as I said, I haven't used these pencils before, so my technique will have to vary a little bit. It's quite a nice soft pastel-y picture, so it works well for what we're doing today. Now it's not about being too careful. I found when I was younger, I was very slow, and I take a very long time to colour each section. Nowadays, I'm much more of an expressive colourer. That's not the word for it. I'm going to call myself a colourer. And I'm a lot more bold with the types of motions that I use when colouring. As you can see now, I'm already adding a little bit of depth and 3D shape just by rounding the hat off a bit here, because I can see the light curves around to match the shape of her hat. I'm going to add some more depth into this area in a minute with the black. The black is obviously quite difficult because you don't want to be pressing too hard. And right around here at the top is where you have made a bold line, quite a lot of colour. Down the side I'm going to leave this area because it's quite white. I'm going to bring up this colour just a bit higher. I have my pencil quite slanted, so I'm not pressing too hard and I'm not pressing the paper really hard and making too many indentations. Now I'm going to do very light motion along the top here because it's pretty much white. I'm going to stop before I get to the edge. You can barely see my colouring right now. I don't know how it's coming out on camera, but you can see a little bit of colour, but it's not very bright. It's very, very subtle. And down this edge, there's quite a lot of colour, so we're pressing quite hard now. The blue's coming out very, very nicely. And I'm rounding my strokes with the pencil to again add some depth. Now I'm getting into the swing of things and pressing my pencil quite hard here. So now it's time to get the black involved and also our darker blue. Now this blue looks very dark, which will be really good for the edges of the hat. I'm actually very impressed with these pencils. For the cost, I can create still really, really nice pictures. So you don't have to spend a lot to get a really good result. Just adding a bit more colour. There is a lot of darkness on the underside of her cap. It's often the outline of the picture where you're putting a lot of the colour. And that's why I like to use reference pictures, because I wouldn't have remembered where the light was hitting on this cap as well if I hadn't looked this up. And then it's very, very dark around here. I do go out the lines, so don't be surprised if you see that, because I do it all the time. Okay, so we're doing well. I'm going to add a little bit of extra colour here in a rounded motion again, not straight lines. I'm just going to take this darker blue up my main line. I've realised that my pencil strokes are never really straight. One of my best sets of pencils that I've actually ever owned is Faber-Castell, £10 on Amazon. I don't have them anymore because I have the Prismacolors, but actually they're really, really good, and they're what I started to colour this book in. As you're doing this, you'll probably want to go over with the original colour as well, just to blend the two different shades in nicely, otherwise you might get a bit of a line. We're going to go over this line because we know it's very dark from the picture. If you look at anything, you can see shadows in different areas which are darker than the other parts. And now I'm getting a bit faster because I'm getting a bit more confident with the pencil, and we're bringing down that line. Flair's hat is now done. I'm just going over the odd edge to try and make it look a little bit more blended. We have a massive shadow over her eye, and then we have quite a lot of light areas near her cheeks. Your nose is always an area where it's pretty much white. The dark area is going to be the hardest, so let's start with the nose. So again, it's a kind of curved motion. I don't think this colour is going to be perfect for skin, but we're going to do our very best because the whole idea of this is using what I've got. So they put a line here to show you where the nose goes up to, and I'm just going to do long curved strokes. I'm pressing quite hard now because actually this colour is quite good. And then we're going to leave the white area in between the nostrils. Follow the lines that the colouring picture's given you. The darkest areas are always the nostril, which we will go over in black in a minute. And we are going to keep colouring the nose, keep adding colour. Now the nose always leads onto the eye, so this area where you're moving into the eye, you can press quite hard because that's the shadow area. Keep the pencil on a slant though, don't press into the page because it'll only go through to the other side, which isn't helpful. And if you don't have a picture for reference, just kind of think of it logically. So where the sun would hit on a picture or on your face, and go and look in a mirror yourself and put your face maybe at that angle to try and work out where the light would be going. That is one of the key things that I would say will give your picture the 3D look and make them a lot more lifelike. Because when you're younger, and including me as well, even up until maybe 4 years ago, I used to just colour things flat, so that would have just been blue outlined and then just coloured in. I wouldn't have thought about adding all of the shading that I do now. She has very strong cheekbones, so I'm going to do a really dark area here. been very impressed with these pencils and would actually really recommend them for a cheap starter set because they are working exceptionally well compared to what I thought they would, and my experiences with cheap pencils when I was younger, they've obviously improved. The hardest thing with them is to get the lines to kind of blend. So I've got a lot of pencil marks here, which if I was able to spend longer on this for the video, I would iron out for you, but that's what I will do when I finish this picture. I will work to blend these together. I have added some colour to the cheeks here on her cheekbones, very lightly pressing with the pink, like exceptionally light. You don't want big round pink circles. We've got the light on her lips and the darker area in between them. We've got a little bit black, which as I said earlier goes around her eyes, and I would work this black in a little bit more to blend together. We started work on her eye. There would also be some black shading to go on around here, and I've started doing the hair, which we've got a nice bright yellow for, which is very, very pretty. And then at the top, I will be working in some dark roots. And stretching it down right to the bottom because hair is never going to be as yellow as that pencil is. So let's move on to picture 2. Now here is one of my unfinished works of art, and what we're going to do so that I don't start too many pictures, we're going to do a bit of Prismacolors on here, and we're also going to use my second set of pencils, the Evolution Bic Kids. Now this is the image that I've got that's closest to it. I didn't anticipate that it was this dark, and sometimes you don't want to colour pictures that are pretty much black for the majority. So a bit of artistic license is needed, but I'm going to show you some more techniques with the Bic colouring pencils. And I've again picked out a variety of colours I think I'll need. Again, very good pigmentation. Happy with that. I don't think I'll colour too much of the skin thinking about it because we have just literally done some of that. So let's work on something different. So we're going to go very, very dark here. And sometimes colouring books kind of give you an indication of how dark an area should be. These little dotted sections represent the shading. So if you use that as a guide. So I'm pressing very, very hard around the edges again, and then softening up as I go further out. And you can always layer on top, so don't be afraid to kind of pressing lightly to begin with to kind of get your bearings of the picture, and then going back and pressing a lot harder. Now I can't actually see from this image that I'm copying where the dark areas are, so I am just kind of having to guess, which is a good test for me. And because it's a wood effect, you might want to press a little bit harder along the lines of the kind of notches of wood. That's what I would do anyway. Don't worry about it being in the lines or too specific because it looks more authentic if you kind of leave them natural. And again, blending it out carefully. Now you may not want to do it with all of them because then it looks a little bit weird. So I'm just going to go back now to doing the top of the cup, pressing quite hard. And now I've really slanted my pencil and I'm doing kind of a wash. If this was paint, this would be called a wash, where you're very, very lightly going over the whole thing just to get some colour down really. Now I'm being really scruffy. I'm adding all these little lines in that makes it look really old and natural. And it's not dark enough, so we're going to add in our black in a minute. Just going to randomly do another line here and follow the lines up here. Pressing really hard here and bringing it down. There we have the cup so far. I will continue with this. You can add in more black here. I'm basically carrying on the similar techniques as I used on Fleur, bringing that black around, merging it into the brown. But I've got more messy strokes because of the type of object it is, so you've got to vary it depending on what you're colouring. My Prismacolors are very well used. I've been using them for a couple of years now, and we're going to do some brickwork. So the brickwork is non-existent for me to be able to see in this picture, so I'm just going to use my mind. We're going to start off with black. Now obviously the Prisma black is good. It's very soft to use, you don't have to press too hard, and often bricks themselves you're going to go around the outside, but you want to do things differently on each one. You don't want to just draw a box around each one because it's just not realistic. So I'm just doing the odd edge. Now I have no guidelines here, so let's try picking out my colour. This brown pencil. I'm just going to do some odd strokes and I'm going to shade and blend the black into it a little bit. Now one thing that you get with Prismacolors that you don't get with the others often is you get a blending pencil. Now the blending pencil was something I swore by when I first got it. It's called a colourless blender. I then realised that my pictures were getting a little bit, I don't know, they just seemed a bit flat because I was using it way too much. So now what I prefer to do is use a very light coloured pencil to blend all my colours together. And now I'm going to try and do the outskirts of this window. So black all down the edge, and then let's use this lighter brown here. And as you can see, because I'm pressing so lightly at the moment, it looks quite patchy. So that's where using another colour on top with these works very well. This is why I have to sharpen my pencil so much, because I'm pressing so hard right now that your hand almost hurts. The creases are also coloured in extremely dark. And now I'm pulling that colour out in my curved motion, which I showed you earlier. Being quite rough with it. And now going extremely light. Leaving a tiny bit of white at the top there and quite a lot of white there. And the inside of his sleeve is going to be completely black because it's dark and in shadow. And we're nearly done. Now I'm going to go back in with the black because it's gone a little bit too light. It's different to my one from before because now I've developed my technique a bit more, but we have quite a good little cloak. So that is 3 different types of pencils, all doing very similar techniques. So that is it, Potter Puffs. I really hope you've enjoyed that video. That was one of my favourites to film, and it was really nice to just sit there and colour and chat to someone because that's always fun. Let me know in the comments down below if you have got any questions. If you do, I will try my very best to answer them, and I'd also love to see any of your colouring. And I will see you next week for a very fun video which is featuring my sister. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!